Welcome to the discussion video on Module 2 for updates in managerial accounting. So, before ay nai-present ko na sa inyo kung ano yung mga topics na i-discuss natin for updates in managerial accounting. One, yung pinakaunang topic is the activity-based management and activity-based costing. So, I will be using the Cost Accounting Foundations and Evolutions PowerPoint of Kinney and Ryborn, but throughout the semester, I will be using several managerial accounting books for the discussion in incorporating everything related to the subject managerial accounting, the updates. So at the end of the module, we will be able to discuss yung value-added and non-value-added activities which are essential in activity-based management systems, the manufacturing cycle efficiency, we analyze the cost drivers, how product cost computed using an activity-based costing system, yung ABC, and on what conditions does ABC is advantageous or useful, and what conditions there are criticisms about activity-based costing. So let's first discuss activity-based management. So anong pinagkaiba nun? Ang activity-based management kasi is kumbaga ito yung the umbrella under ng activity-based management, yung activity-based costing. So what do we manage when we are doing this ABM? So let's discuss. Under ABM, we focus on activities during the production and performance process. So ano ba itong mga activity na tinutukoy? These are repetitive action performed in fulfillment of a business function. Ibig sabihin, when you are, for example, you are in a production, yung assembling, yung pag-assemble ng mga materials is an activity. Yung finishing is an activity, painting is an activity. So yun yung ina-account under the activity-based management. So tinitingnan kung anong mga activities yung a-assign na natin ng cost. We improve the value received by customers by using ABM, and it enhances profitability. How do we improve the value received by customers? Because we focus our attention on value adding activities, and we reduce or eliminate non-value adding activities. So when we increase our focus on value adding activities, therefore we focus our attention to the cost. So we eliminate yung mga non-value adding costs. So kapag in-eliminate mo or ni-reduce mo yung mga cost na yun, it will enhance your profitability. Next, these are the several aspects of the activity-based management. Yung activity analysis, cost driver analysis, ABC, continuous improvement, operational control, quality management, business process improvement, and performance measurement. So, all of these are aspects in accomplishing yung tinatawag na activity-based management. So, for this module, we will be discussing activity analysis, cost driver analysis, activity-based costing, and some of continuous improvement. So, what are the benefits of the ABM? As discussed before, it increases the customer value. Why? When you focus your attention on value-adding activities, there is kumbaga, when you focus your attention on value-adding activities, you increase the worth of the product dahil inaalis mo yung mga non-value adding cost doon sa product. So, kung aalisin mo yung non-value adding cost, therefore, kung nagma-markup ka based on cost, ay pwedeng mababaan yung price ng isang product because mababa na yung cost niya on the kumbaga yung factory cost plus the markup, mababa na ang iyong factory cost because you eliminate non-value adding activities. So you increase the customer value dahil they are willing to pay for the price na ino-offer mo na sa kanya because of the relatively lower value. You enhance your profitability. Yes, discuss natin yan kanina. Internal benefits. There is more efficient production. There are more accurate cost determination. There are more effective performance evaluation. Imagine when you eliminate non-value adding activities, uh, nagre-result yun sa mas mabilis na pag-accomplish ng mga production process or production runs. More accurate cost determination because ina-identify mo kung yung mga activities related doon sa product. For example, kung yung mga items na nag-generate ng matataas na cost, sila dapat yung mapag-allocatean ng mga indirect costs related to the production. So more accurate ang cost determination kapag ganun. Under the traditional costing kasi you identify the indirect cost and then uniformly ay dinidivide mo lang 'yun kung ilan yung products or processes or yung batch or yung units. So it depends kung anong klaseng costing measure ang ginagawa. So, under activity-based costing, kung sino yung mga activities na nag-generate ng cost, sila dapat yung mapag-assignan nung tamang cost na yun. Okay, under activity analysis, as the first phase, as the first process in the activity-based management, we determine yung value-added and non-value-added activity. So dalawa lang yung nasa value-added activity. As long as it increases the worth of the product or service to a customer, it is considered a value-added. So ano itong mga value-added na to? Ito yung mga process time. So later we will discuss yan. Customer is willing to pay for it. So, willing magbayad yung customer kapag alam niya na that process will increase the the worth of a product or service. For example, dyan, mga service time. Itong non-value-added activity, everything that does not fall under the value-added activities. So, anong example? It increases time spent on the product or service but does not increase worth. For example, yung mga inspection time. Unnecessary from customer perspective, it can be reduced, redesigned, or eliminated or without affecting the market value of the or quality of the product. So, let's look at the next presentation. Balik muna tayo. Dito sa non-value added activity, meron tayong mga example later kung ano-ano yung mga non-value added activities na yan. So, as long as it does not increase the worth of the product to a customer and the customer is not willing to pay because of that value added time or activity, ay it is considered as a non-value added activity. So, the goal is to eliminate or to reduce yung mga items na non-value added, although we know that non-value added activities cannot be eliminated at all. So let's go with the definition of a process. So kanina we identify yung mga activities. Now we look at how these series of activities relate to a production. So ang sinasabi diyan, if it is a series of activities that when performed together satisfy a specific objective, it is called a process. So ano mga example ng mga process? Production, distribution, selling, and administration. So, ano ba ang since production is considered a process, ano ba ang mga activities na naka-under diyan sa production? Ang mga naka-under sa production, for example, assembly, yung pag-assemble ng mga parts, yung finishing, those are considered activities. So kapag pinagsunod-sunod mo na yon, yung assembling to finishing to the other activities in the production, ang tawag na doon ay process. So production is an example of a process. Distribution is an example of process. Selling and administration. So parang ganun yung relationship nila. So activity is a subset of the term process. So, nire-relate lang muna natin yung mga concepts related to activity-based costing before you jump into looking at computational or practical problems. Okay, let's look at this matrix. This matrix relates lang naman kung ano yung diniscuss dito kanina sa process. So, ang sinasabi dito, This is a production is a complex process because it involves engineering designs, purchasing, accounting, receiving, marketing, warehousing, and human resources. So, i-design yung product, binibili para ano yung kailangan gamitin para doon sa design na yon. Then, pag the receiving department receives yung mga materials or components, the accounting department binabayaran yung mga biniling items na yon. Marketing is one of the phase kung saan you target how to sell the product. Human resources, you hire the people in making the product. And warehousing, you store the materials para habang hindi pa yan ginagamit ay siya ay safe keep, naka-safe keep ang mga items na yon. So, ang sinasabi lang dito sa process ay before you reach the final production process, it involves a tedious process along the systems. So, papaano natin ma-identify yung mga costing diyan sa mga various areas while we reach the production. We will be discussing that in the later modules or later discussions of the topic. So let's go now with activity analysis. So kanina i-identify mo yung value added or non-value added activities. So katulad ng ginawa mo dito kanina, merong process map dito. One of the step in activity analysis is that you create a flow chart of the process. You identify each step. Then you create the value chart. You identify the stages and the time spent in stages from the beginning to the end of the process. So once na identify mo na yung process flow chart nung isang production o isang system of how to produce the product, you identify kung alin doon yung value added or non-value added. So the guiding rule for you is to identify if it increases the worth of the product or the customer is willing to pay for it, yun ay classified as a value added time or value added activity. So example, the processing time, paano mo is this a value adding activity to the production of an output or a service? Yes, because paano ma-accomplish yung isang output or yung final product kung hindi mo siya ipo-process. Next, yung service time. Itong service time na tinutukoy dito is yung is the customer willing to pay for the service. Yun yung sinasabing service time na yan. So other items are considered non-value added. Like inspection time. Yes, you inspect the product para maging to ensure the quality of the product, but paano kung okay naman ang control ng internal quality ng product, most of the time the inspection time becomes non-value adding. Transfer time, for example, from warehouse to the actual plant site, baka masyadong malayo. So you have to look at yung mga ganong scenario because it may cost non-value adding time to the product kasi may cost pa rin associated doon. The idle time, the time kung kailan inaantay yung item before it can be delivered, or pwedeng pwedeng inaantay yung raw materials na dumating, those are idle time na pwede sanang ma-reduce or ma-eliminate. So let's go with the concept of the cycle time. So mas madali lang nang maintindihan because when you add value added time with non-value added time, it is called the cycle time. So what is the goal? The goal is to eliminate or minimize activities that add the most time and cost and the least value. So dapat sana ay mabawasan or ma-eliminate yung mga activities na nagge-generate ng mataas na time in the production run and cost. Dahil kapag yaan ay binigyan ng focus on eliminating or reducing that, ay magiging efficient or magiging mas profitable yung operations. Okay, let's discuss the concept of manufacturing cycle efficiency. So MCE is just a proration of your value added time with your total cycle time. So hinahanap mo lang yung portion doon sa total time na pinrocess mo yung isang product, alin doon yung value added lang. So value added time divided by the total cycle time is your manufacturing cycle efficiency. So, ang sinasabi dito, 100% efficiency is unrealistic because you can reduce the total non-value added time, but you cannot eliminate. So, hindi pwedeng the value added time is equal to total cycle time. It is unrealistic kasi meron at merong non-value added time na dapat uh, ma-generate when you are producing a product. You reduce non-value added activities will increase MCE. Of course, kapag ni-reduce mo yung non-value added activities, it will increase your MCE. Kasi pag binawasan mo yung non-value added time, looking at the formula, bababa yung total cycle time. And since it is a denominator, it will, if it decreases, the MCE will increase because yan ay inversely related or inversely proportional. Value-added activity usually represents about 10% of the total cycle time. So this is the accepted. It varies across organization, pero normally yan ang ratio and proportion. The value added is 10% of the total time. Just-in-time increases manufacturing cycle efficiency. Ano ba yung concept ng just-in-time system? Later, we will discuss this. Parang sa strategic cost management topic ay na-discuss ito. Madidiscuss yan. Itong just-in-time, sinasabi lang dito kung kailan mo kailangan yung product, ay doon mo siya. Kumbaga, merong system of scheduling. Kung kailangan yung product, ay doon siya dadating. So pino-project kung kailangan yung materials in producing a particular product, doon mo pa lang ipapa-deliver. So ibig sabihin, ma-eliminate yung idle time ng pag-iintay from warehouse. So it increases your manufacturing cycle efficiency. Let's go with the non-value added activities. It is attributed to systemic, physical, and human because there are human errors. Physical, ang tinutukoy dito is yung location ng sites. Baka masyadong malayo yung warehouse to your production site. So, kailangan i-transport pa. So, yung mga physical factors. Systemic, ibig sabihin ng systemic is yung parang paulit-ulit. Ibig sabihin, yung mga issues before on the on the non-value adding time, yung mga transfer time, idle time, and inspection time, hindi siya na-address. So the goal is to eliminate or to reduce yung mga systemic, physical, human, non-value adding activities. Yes, it will increase product or service quality. It decrease the cycle time and cost. Okay, let's go with the cost driver analysis. The cost driver analysis, well, we already have discussed, siguro natutunan mo na ito before, yung concept of cost driver. What drives the cost to change, to increase or to decrease. It limits the number of cost drivers, cost of measurement. It is easy to understand. So later we will have a more in-depth analysis of that. So what is the management tool? Ang sinasabi dito, when you are doing the activity-based management, you analyze yung activities that are non-value adding. Pag na-identify mo na yung mga non-value adding activities, you analyze what caused those costs to be incurred. So ano ang nag-cause doon sa mga gastusin na yon na may incur. So doon mo siya sisimulan. Kumbaga, you are looking at the roots kung papaano mai-eliminate yon, papaano siya masusolusyonan. Next, you identify lang itong cost drivers into unit level, batch level, product or process level, or organizational or facility cost. So, na-discuss na rin siguro ito before sa inyo. So, this is just a review. So, kapag unit level, it relates to the ingredient in making the product, the direct material, labor, Yun ang mga unit level cost. Kapag batch level cost naman, normally these are merong mga items that can be subjected into a batch na homogeneous. Homogeneous sila within a batch, so pwedeng batch level costing na yon. Pag product or process level costing, these are normally mga heterogeneous items na hindi mo pwedeng ipagsama-sama sa isang batch, kaya nga siya per product level or product development, o merong kailangang ibaguhin dun sa how the process works, yung mga engineering changes. Organizational or facility cost, this involves the facility na. For example, yung building depreciation, so yan ay organizational cost. Okay, looking at the illustration, ang sinasabi lang dito ay kumbaga in-illustrate how a delivery is done. Kumbaga, a delivery has been affected by several factors, by the distance of the trip, by the breakdown, by the weather, by the traffic, by the vehicle maintenance, and the driver, the condition of the driver. So, ang concept lang na pinapakita dito ay how do you reduce the cost? Halimbawa, itong driver, kumbaga merong pwedeng magkaroon ng human or human error dyan. For example, the condition ng driver, yun ay non-value adding na in making a product. The maintenance, dapat periodically mini-maintain yung repairs ng delivery vehicle because it may cause non-value adding kapag halimbawa biglang tumirik yan, yung related sa breakdown na din. Weather, this is also non-value adding. Paano kung maulan while on the road? Paano may eliminate yung mga ganong condition? Dapat ini-schedule ng tama ng logistics kung kung kailan dapat, anong time, anong day dapat naka-schedule. So mga ganong factors, the distance of the trip and the traffic. Kumbaga kung anong time dapat nag-travel. This is just an illustration on how will you analyze a process. Kumbaga, this is just an example, pero how do you analyze kung ikaw ay nasa isang organization na, how do you analyze what are the factors that will be affecting to the delivery of an output? So, yun lang ang sinasabi dyan. So, you have to consider the factors relating to the product. Kaya nga nagko-conduct ka ng vertical ng activity analysis. Unit level costs are variable in relation to production. Batch are variable for reasons. Okay. Product cost, we will allocate the number, so ang determination is cost per unit. Pag batch level, cost per unit in the batch and cost per unit in the product line. So, this illustration, in-identify lang niya yung mga samples of a unit level cost, batch level cost, product or process level cost, and the organizational or facility level cost. So, you just have to look at how the costs are classified. Next, ito, alam mo na to, the profitability, how to compute the product revenue minus your total product cost is your net product margin, plus or minus all other net product margins, the total margin provided with the products minus the organizational facility level cost results to your company profit or loss. This is not in compliance with the government accounting, generally accepted accounting principles. Why? Let us discuss more siguro sa mga succeeding modules and how this happens. Okay, let's go with the topic na talaga, yung activity-based costing. Under the activity-based costing, you recognize the several levels of costs. You accumulate costs into related cost pools and use multiple cost drivers to assign costs to products and services. Unlike the traditional costing kasi, under the activity-based costing, you identify kung anong mga activities ang nagko-cause for the cost to change. Nagko-cause for the cost to change. So, kailangan kung saang activity yung halimbawa, kung anong product ang nag-generate ng mataas na na cost, dapat sa kanya naka-assign yun. Kung saang activity nag-generate yung cost na yun, dapat doon siya naka-assign. Because the tendency kapag gumamit ka ng traditional costing ay identify mo lang yung indirect cost, tapos i-divide mo kung ilan yung product, kung ilan yung batch, kung ilan yung process. Yun na yung indirect cost na naka-assign per item. While sa activity-based costing, hindi ganon. Because the tendency kapag ganon ay nai-spread out yung cost na dapat ay hindi. Kung sino, kung anong product or kung anong process talaga ang nag-generate ng cost na yun, dapat doon siya mai-assign. Kailangan mai-match mo yung cost doon sa product kung saan talaga siya para ma-reflect yung talagang profitability o talagang performance nung particular activity na yon. So when do we use activity-based costing? When we have a wide variety of products. Halimbawa, sobrang dami ng product at yun ay iba-iba. So hindi ka pwedeng gumamit ng uniform, yung indirect cost assign mo lahat sa kung ilan yung product. So hindi pwede. High overhead costs are not proportional to the unit volume of individual products. So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Mataas yung overhead cost, tapos dinidivide mo lang siya doon sa kung ilan yung product doon sa process na yon. So hindi pwede because merong mga items na matagal gawin, merong mga items na mabilis lang gawin. So dapat proportional. Kung saan siya dapat, doon siya i-allocate. Automation makes it difficult to assign overhead to products using direct labor. Kapag automated kasi ang system, mahirap mo nang ma-identify kung saan yung cost dahil pare-parehas yung dadaan sa isang process. So, kailangan ay gumamit ng activity-based costing diyan para ma-identify mo. Automation makes it difficult to assign overhead to products using direct labor or machine hours. This is correct because dahil fully automated na yung production, mahirap i-assign itong direct labor or machine hours. So, anong gagawin mo dyan? You identify kung saang activity nagtatagal yung product para doon yun ang maging basis mo of assigning the cost. Profit margins are difficult to explain. Yes, because hindi na nga siya kasi nagiging reliable. Because under yung sa traditional costing, ina-assign mo lang yung product, yung cost ng product base sa kung ilan ang product. Halimbawa, the indirect cost divided by the total number of product or number of batches or the number of the process. Mahirap, it is not the generation of the profit is not reliable. Hard to make products show big profits and easy to make products show losses. Ito yung ine-specify ko kanina. Yung matatagal gawin na product ang tataas ng kanilang performance or profitability, pero yung madali lang gawin ang bababa dahil pare-parehas sila ng cost. So, dapat yun ay ma-eliminate yun using activity-based costing. Two-step allocation, collect costs in the general ledger and subsidiary accounts. You accumulate costs into activity center cost pools. You allocate costs to products or services. So, normally, mas maintindihan mo to when we are in the practical applications na. So, activity drivers. So, kung kanina, the cost driver are the costs that are the cost drivers are the factors that drive the cost to change, to increase, or to decrease. Ito naman, mga items na drive the activity to change. So, these are the example. Reports requested, hiring actions, training hours, repair hours, setups, moves, or employees. Activity-based costing. So, ito yung concept niya. Under the activity-based costing, kapag nag-record ka daw ng cost in the general ledger, you are accumulating using the cost driver per cost, ay ma-identify na natin you can accumulate the activity center cost pools. So kapag meron kang activity center cost pools, you now then identify what drives the activity to change, which will lead to your cost objects. So, the goal in activity-based costing is to identify kung ano yung mga activities na nag-generate ng cost at kung paano mo yun i-assign doon sa uh, mga product or doon sa mga output. Okay? When traditional and ABC, when ABC is implemented, the cost is reduced for high volume products and the cost is increased for low volume products. So, tama naman, di ba? The high volume product o yung standard products ay nare-reduce yung cost kasi ito yung mga madadaling gawin. Madadaling gawin na dati ang taas ng assignment ng cost sa kanya nare-reduce. Ito naman yung mga low volume na specialty products na ang tatagal gawin dati na ang tataas din ng kanyang profitability dahil konti lang ina-assign na cost sa kanya because uniform ini-spread yung indirect cost, nai-increase na yung mga cost niyan. So, kumbaga, nako-correct ng ABC costing yung previously na ini-implement under the traditional costing. So long-term variable cost, the cost driver may be through product variety or product complexity. Pag variety, the number of different types of products. Pag complexity, the number of processes through which a product flows. So paano natin i-analyze yan? By looking at this. Considerations, the number and diversity of products or services are produced, the diversity, the extent to which the common processes are used, the effectiveness of the cost allocation methods, and the rate of growth of period cost. So, anong sinasabi lang dyan? Gamitin mo daw yung ABC for product, variety, and process complexity. Halimbawa, iba-iba yung product o di gumamit ka ng activity-based costing para ma-set talaga kung ano yung gastos. The process complexity naman, iba-iba or very complex yung process. So, hindi pwedeng yung indirect cost i-assign mo agad doon sa kung ilan yung process na pinagdaanan. Dapat i-identify mo kung anong mga activities or processes ang nagko-cost sa bawat isang item. Lack of commonality in overhead cost. Paiba-iba yung overhead items. So, hindi pwedeng i-divide agad uniformly across the products. Problems with current cost allocations and other changes in business environment. So, kumbaga, you are analyzing how to use ABC costing kapag ganito ang scenario. So, you have to use ABC costing under these scenarios because mas reliable ang costing mo sa iyong mga product if you will be looking at these scenarios. Next, the process of continuous improvement. I think this will be discussed on the next module ng Strat Cost. Ang sinasabi lang dito ay the activity-based costing supports continuous improvement. Ano ba yung sinasabi sa continuous improvement? The continuous elimination of non-value added activities. What are some of the criticism? It is significant amount of time to implement. Matagal i-implement. Dati, i-divide mo na lang yung indirect cost doon sa number of products. Then you get the cost per product. But now, you have to identify yung activities, you have to identify the cost drivers, yung centers, then you assign to the cost objects. You assign to the cost objects. So, merong barriers to change. Some employees may be resistant on changing the processes, and also it does not conform to GAAP because under the GAAP, ang sinusunod dyan is how do you accumulate your product and your period cost. So, later on, we will discuss kung how ABC processes. Later on, you will realize kung paanong hindi siya nagko-conform dun sa GAAP natin. So, this just simply reiterates yung advantages ng ABC and ABM. This will be for your reading. I would like to emphasize the analysis of the performance of activities across business functions as one of the major advantages of activity-based costing. So let's look at this final illustration. This final illustration illustrates yung effectiveness, the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. Yung effectiveness, sinasabi, yung traditional costing is effective while ABC is efficient. You do the things the right way. Dati, you do the right things. Pero ang tanong, hanggang kailan? Do the right things. Hanggang kailan matatapos yung isang item. Pero dito, you are doing the things the right way. Kung yung sa mas mabilis at mas tamang paraan. Diba? Na a-address kasi dito yung inequities on the assignment of the indirect costs. So, yun muna. That ends the discussion on the theoretical concepts of uh, activity-based costing, and on the second part of this video, yung mga practical illustrations, computations related to activity-based costing. Thank you.